North Korea is one of the few countries on Earth that is totalitarian, besides Afghanistan and Turkmenistan. The four other states in the world that consider themselves quote-unquote socialist, Cuba, Laos, Vietnam, and China, are all authoritarian, with Cuba being the least authoritarian in the group. But these states are not totalitarian like North Korea. Though to be clear, I do not believe that any country in the world right now is socialist, but that's a topic for another video. North Korea claims itself to be socialist, but what a country has written in its constitution about what it's supposed to be is largely irrelevant. You have to look at the facts on the ground. The truth is, North Korea exists to be a buffer state in Asia between states aligned with the USSR and the US, and now North Korea acts as a buffer state between China and the US. North Korea does not exist because the people of North Korea wanted it. Today, North Korea is governed like an absolute monarchy, with the Kim family dynasty ruling the nation despite North Korea not legally being a monarchy. But again, you have to look at the facts on the ground. In order to have a country be a socialist republic, the president or prime minister, if it's a parliamentary system, cannot come to power through hereditary bloodline and must have people democratically electing them by the people or by a parliament. Kim Jong-un was not elected, and he only came to power because he shares a direct bloodline with Kim Il-sung. Kim Il-sung was basically a puppet of the Soviets. And this is the problem. Socialism, as envisioned by Karl Marx, saw a world in which democracy is expanded upon beyond the political system, and democracy is expanded to the economy. A good example of this would be Chile under Salvador Allende and the Paris Commune, which North Korea is nothing like. North Korea isn't exactly the same as China. China is a state capitalist nation and is more free than North Korea, but North Korea is a mix between state capitalism and Stalinist-style command economy. But this Stalinist command economy is not socialism because social classes strongly exist. In Songbun, for example, and the means of production is controlled by the state and not owned collectively by the workers. The ruling Workers' Party of Korea does not represent the workers whatsoever. In fact, the Workers' Party of Korea members within the Supreme People's Assembly are just elites who do not represent or care for the workers whatsoever. North Korea does not have a bourgeoisie class, but North Korea does have a ruling class that oppresses the proletariat and has extreme luxuries that the workers of North Korea do not have access to. Something else that is important to mention. While China or Vietnam or Cuba and Laos are officially Marxist-Leninist states or state capitalist states inspired by Stalin, North Korea is not a Marxist-Leninist state. It officially adheres to jucheism, which jucheism is less Marxist and more fascist, nationalist, and religious more than anything that Karl Marx ever imagined. This whole North Korean idea of self-reliance and putting the nation first is purely nationalist ideology. Jucheism betrays Marxism more than socialism with Chinese characteristics ever could. Karl Marx hated nationalism because nationalism weakens class struggle. Workers have a common interest across the globe. But the point is that North Korea is not a socialist republic, even though its constitution pretends it to be one. North Korea is a fascist totalitarian monarch LARPing as a socialist country. If North Korea was a socialist country, what it would look like is that there would be no social classes, which means the abolition of Songbun. Their money would act like labor vouchers, which means they are non-transferable or limited in transferability. There would also be no markets, which since the 1990s, North Korea has markets. And most importantly, the entire economy of North Korea would be ran by workers' councils, or Soviets, and there would be strong democracy within the workplace and within the economy. In reality, what happens in North Korea is that the workplace is controlled by state ministers, party structures, appointed managers, and administrative hierarchy, not by workers' democratic control. The economy of North Korea is also not democratically planned. Instead, the economy is ran by central government bodies, party leadership, planning agencies, and state enterprise. A democratically planned economy by the workers would mean councils, delegates, or assemblies, and those institutions having full run over the economy. And all of this is stuff that North Korea lacks. North Korea is not a socialist country, but instead a totalitarian fascist nation with Stalinist command economy with elements of state capitalism. Socialism is about expanding democracy from the political life to the economic life. Meanwhile, North Korea does not have democracy in the political or the economic life. It's sad, the current state of Korea. Korea had a socialist government before the US and USSR occupied Korea, known as the People's Republic of Korea, and it was destroyed by both the USSR and the US as they competed for influence across the globe. The United States of America did not save Korea, and neither did the Soviets, and instead they established puppet regimes that work against the interests of the Korean people. The only way for Korea to be saved from its low birth rates and many other severe problems is for a socialist revolution in both North and South Korea. Listen, if Karl Marx was alive today, he would not consider North Korea a socialist nation, because when Karl Marx analyzed economic conditions of nations, he did not look at what their governments officially labeled themselves as, but what they did in practice. The reality on the ground. Marx even had a term for authoritarian states that considered themselves communist but were just authoritarian collectivism, known as the barracks of communism. Marx was not alive when Stalin took power in Russia. He died in 1883. 40 years afterwards, Stalin would take power in Russia. But the fact that Marx coined the term barracks of communism really goes against the mainstream narrative that Marxism caused Stalin's totalitarianism. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. If you like what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for the support on the past two videos. It's mean a lot, and peace.